Hey everybody, welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast, the only live streaming face-to-face arts and entertainment podcast covering northeastern Pennsylvania, offering a true alternative voice in local media. We're coming to you from the NEPA Scene studio underneath Center City Print in downtown Scranton. I'm Rich Howells, the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with Punk... Now, I want to say this right. I wanted to say Punkstyria.
No.
But it's
Punkstyria.
Punkstyria Records founder and manager Noah Leonhardt. Got that part right.
Yeah.
Punkstyria is presenting a Kingston Loves You Fest at Doug's Boardroom this Sunday, April 27th. So we're going to talk about creating this independent alternative label as a teenager growing up in Girardville and Schuylkill County, discovering punk and the local music scene and getting involved, the process of releasing records and compilations, organizing shows in different kinds of venues, their upcoming show with Pucker Up, Stand Still, Okay Buddy, and more. So please join our conversation with your questions and comments down below. We'll get to those later on in the show. Before I dive in, I just want to thank our sponsor, Center City Print, who provided us with this great studio space. You can use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online at Center City Print for 10% off. Center City Print can bring your ideas to life in 4 locations: Scranton, Old Forge, Kingston, and Hazleton. These one-stop shops are locally owned and operated, offering high-quality printed products, copy and print services, and design solutions to help you, your small business, your nonprofit organization, your band, your art project, your event, or any venture thrive. Use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online at centercityprint.com for 10% off.
I'll share it and then tag you as well.
All right, so Noah, if you want to introduce your friend who's on the show with us tonight.
This is my friend Billy, who you may have seen him play with a band called Handguns, or God, you played with a lot of different bands.
I've just kind of filled in for people for a while. I do my own thing too. The Converse Kid, it's like a solo acoustic act, and a couple of things coming up. And
all right, well, we'll get into those as well. And you have some involvement in Punkstyria too?
Just whatever he needs a hand on, pretty much. I'll be doing sound with my buddy Tyler for Sunday as well for the show.
That's true.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so what is the first music you heard as a kid that maybe stuck with you and left an impression?
That's really hard, and not to really get judged, but it's probably Poker Face by Lady Gaga, to be honest. Like, that was insane. But for, like, punk or hardcore is probably, like... That's really difficult, and I genuinely don't really remember, so I think I'm going to stick with the Poker Face answer, just because it was so long ago, and I've listened to so many different bands, I don't know. It kind of just slipped my mind.
When was it that you heard punk music?
Oh my God, probably when I was 8 years old, because I went to my first Warped Tour when I was like 8 years old, so it's probably like 7. Yeah, taking like, I don't know. That was very fun, but in like retrospective, an awful idea. Taking an 8-year-old to Warped Tour, it was, I don't know. I'm very thankful though that I had all that growing up. I wouldn't be doing that without, I wouldn't be doing this without that happening growing up, so I'm just happy I always had parents and family that were supportive.
So what do you think it was about maybe punk music that stuck with you that made you maybe led into what you're doing now?
I just liked how fast it was, and like, it was just a way, it was an outlet pretty much, and I didn't really have one for the longest time, so just finding music and then keeping busy, making records and just other stuff has been really enjoyable. But I kind of lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Well, that part of things I think is interesting too, because most people, they hear that kind of music and they're like, I'm going to be a rock star.
Yeah.
That's the thing that they want to be. But you're thinking more behind the scenes.
Yeah, that was always more
them
interesting to me. Yeah. like growing up, I always wanted to work Warped Tour, and obviously that'll probably never happen. But you know, I just always had an appreciation for the people that made the shows and like everything else behind the scenes happen. And I knew when I was younger I wanted to be a part of that.
Well, I know I know it's not the Warped Tour, but it's kind of the closest proximity we're going to get at the Ritz. They're looking for volunteers.
I actually saw that. I was going to message Balls, but I was just so busy with the show. I'll have to do that after this.
Absolutely.
Because I'd love to maybe even set something up there, or you know.
Yeah.
Because Pucker Up are playing and we press the records, so
nice.
It would make sense.
Pucker Up was the first band that we were able to interview and hear. It was
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Their first interview that they ever did as a band.
That's so cool.
And it was right here.
I love all those people. They're, I don't know, just beyond like doing the pressing with them, they're just great people.
They are, yeah. And it's, I find that there's a lot of those full circle kind of moments in music.
It's crazy.
They're so talented live. Like, I know this is like kind of random, but I saw them playing Punk Island because I was helping one of my buddy's bands out, Goblin City Rat Boys, and they were playing on the other side of the island. And I was like, Pucker Up, that's such a cool name. So I went over and I was watching them, and I was like, this is like genuine punk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a punk band, and I think they're are they a three-piece?
Yeah.
They're like, at the time, they're a three-piece, and they just have like such a full sound. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was so impressive. So when he was like, oh, we're doing like a lot of stuff with them, I was like, that's so weird that a year ago, like, I'm seeing them in New York, and now they're like doing this with you. Is like, it's crazy how involved like music is. Mm-hmm. In this general area with everyone. Someone's connected to somebody, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to escape the Northeast PA scene or whatever in general. No matter where you go, like, you could be out in the middle of nowhere and somehow someone will have a connection to this area. Sure. I don't know how that works, but it always does.
It always happens.
So cool. Girardville.
Yeah.
That's where you're from. It's in Schuylkill County. What is it like there?
It's really awful. Like, it doesn't even have a street light. It doesn't have a gas pump. It doesn't have a grocery store. It doesn't have really anything besides, like, I don't know. Growing up there wasn't really a lot, so I had to find my own again, outlets and whatever, and it was like playing guitar, drums, drawing, whatever. So, you know, I just kind of did that, and I didn't really have that many friends in school either, so I was just really like in my room 24/7, just like learning what a power chord is and like, you know, drawing my own album covers and whatnot.
That's so cool. I never knew that. You drew your own, like, just randomly.
Yeah, back in the day.
That's
like,
so cool.
This is like 10 years ago now.
Nice. That's awesome.
So, growing up there, how did that did that make you want to do what you're doing now that much more, to like create something to do essentially?
I would say it helped a little bit, but I would say no matter where I'm from, this is probably what I would want to do, just because music means so much to me, and it, you know, just being able to provide fans and like other people, most importantly bands, with records of their music. It's just really like satisfying to me, and I love just, it keeps me involved in the scene and whatnot.
So I assume that there was no real live music venue or anything to be able to see in your hometown.
No.
So how did you end up discovering the scene then?
So my friend Autumn, who I met at school because she was wearing a hoodie for a band called Binary from Philly, she was just listening to all these Wilkes-Barre bands, and this was like 2021, 2022, I don't remember when, but oh my god, I think it was like Drain, Koyo, and a couple other bands at Carl Hall. They were doing a show, and we were supposed to go to that, and then we didn't go to that. But that show helped me find the Wilkes-Barre shows page, and just all the bands that we would eventually end up pressing, and then I would just kind of idolize this scene. And then when I got older and was able to start going to shows and like save up my money to press a record, you know, I just finally became a part of the scene that, you know, I kind of fantasized about since I was 15 or 16.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, tell me maybe about how when did you say, all right, I'm going to start my own label, and then kind of go about doing that?
Probably when I was in a study hall, my senior year. I've just seen Wild Red play a set in somewhere in the area, obviously, but I hit them up to do the 7-inch, which was our first release ever, and it just kind of kept, we kept finding more bands like Auto Ignition, OK Buddy, Camp Ghost, Pucker Up, and I'm just hoping to keep it going.
Nice. So how do you go about that exactly? Because I'm especially in this in this day and age where physical stuff is not as I wouldn't say not as important. I think it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
But less available to everybody.
It's just kind of like I learned how to do the pressing, and then I would find bands that had releases I liked and didn't have a physical of yet, so I would just shoot an email like, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z for your EP, and then throw it on a 7-inch, and then it would just eventually work out, and we have usually Chris Ventura do the layout for all the artwork and labels, so it's really just I knew a bunch of people that had the resources to do this, so I figured we could provide more like local band releases because there isn't many. So
right.
I think that's really important and something our scene was missing for a while.
So I was reading a little kind of bio that you have out there, somewhere out there on the internet, and it said that you had begun playing a record label with friends at the age of
That's true.
6.
That was awful. Yeah, because I got bullied so hard. Like, because nobody would want to play with me or whatnot, and I don't even think they understood what I was talking about because nobody really paid attention to that shit. I'm sorry. I can curse. Yeah,
Nobody really can curse on this show. It's totally all right.
Nobody really paid attention to that shit till they got way older. But I was 8 years old, and I was like, hey, do you want to play record label? And they didn't know. I don't know. It's kind of absurd talking about it now, but it was just what I wanted to do since I was a young age, and now I guess we're actually doing it.
So you also had a long phone call with a certain guy from Handguns.
Yes.
So how did that kind of change things for you?
It kind of just he kind of taught me what DIY
This is Jake
was.
Langley,
yeah.
Right?
Taught me what DIY punk rock was, and just the fact you can book a show with practice amps and a karaoke speaker and charge $5 in your backyard. Nobody really. It's more the bands that were important, and he kind of just told me about that and how to book a show, because he told me how to book a show when I was 13, and then I called him back hey, I booked a show in my hometown, and it was this really shitty dive bar or whatever, and then the old lady that works there, or doesn't work there now, I believe, took credit for it, and I was like, you motherfucker, you're took credit from a 13-year-old, that's fucked up. That's they probably didn't know my age, and most times till I got older they didn't know, because they probably wouldn't believe me, but that just kind of did drive me to book more shows and network more.
Okay.
That is crazy to think about, especially because that's pretty much our connection was at the time. I literally just joined the band. I was probably 20, going on 21.
Okay.
And then this young kid is we met through ABJ's podcast, I think.
I think so.
The collective
might have been
of
a little
that.
before that.
Yeah, maybe a little bit before that too. But it was weird connection thing, and I was like, oh, this kid is starting a label, you know, like, because at the time you're like a teenager. I'm like, that's so cool. And I think that's when I like messaged you, and I was like, well, you're like putting stuff out, would you want to do like that split? So we did like a split, and this is like super early on, and we were like talking about doing the physical thing, and then like sometimes things don't happen, and that's totally fine. You know what I mean?
Also like 15 when we were trying to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
My name.
But like we were both like pretty young at the time. I mean, 20 is still a young time to be out and touring in a band that's like Handguns is pretty self-established. Like they were on a label and everything, and so to me, like I've also learned in the best way possible that like a name carries, you know, and like the people that you know and the people that you've played with, and definitely always like giving respect to those that have like given you an opportunity, and making sure that when you get a chance to like pay that forward to someone else and give back, you know. So it's cool. This whole like community, I'm slowly getting into like, you know, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, all that stuff, but like it just goes to show like there's genuine people out there that are making good music, that actually care about the music scene and want to do something good, and not just be like, I want to be on top of something that doesn't exist. When there's like the top doesn't exist, but we'll make it exist or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. It's like this. He just wants to like get good things out there in like the best way possible, and I think that's like the coolest thing. So like I'm super proud of him for what I've seen in like the last 7, 8, 9 years. I don't even. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been
it's
like
been a
6
long
years.
while. 6 years. That's crazy. Yeah.
I remember when I went to go see Combust at Rest in Peace Grumps in Luzerne. I went to go see Combust. I think I already said that. Oh my god, tripping over my words.
Yeah.
I went to go see. Their singer said that a lot of people see hardcore and as something to like lift themselves up and get to the next step, and you know, that's not really what this is at all. And I kind of was really inspired by that, because that's kind of like how I felt, but I didn't know how to put that into words, so I was just like so hyped up and more like motivated. And their new record's also really good. It just came out on Triple B Records, which is one of my big 3 labels. Like I'd say like my biggest influences for labels are like Epitaph, Triple B, Days, and like New Morality Zine as an honorable mention.
And in terms of labels too, you know, you have so many bands who I think were introduced to people through labels, especially in the punk scene. You think of the Warped Tour era and things like that, and you know, Fueled by Ramen and Epitaph, and you know, so many that were putting people out. And then you also have your horror stories, of like, oh my god, I was on a label and they ruined my life, and they took all my money, and that sort of thing. So are people like wary of you when you approach them? Do they think like, oh, there must be some kind of ulterior motive, or like, I want to jump in and do this?
Not really. We're pretty upfront with how things work, and you know, it's kind of worked out every single time with the bands we worked with, because it's a pretty fair deal that we run with manufacturing. So I just hope we get to do more of it, just because it's really fun.
There's probably a lot of bands who are relieved, or like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, and like, and I enjoy doing that stuff and like doing the order form. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. It just sucks when things get delayed and you have so many people emailing you like, "Where's my stuff?" And it's like, I'm trying to email the pressing plant, but they keep telling me it'll be next week or just something super vague, and I was like, oh. It's also like right now with obviously tariffs and everything, vinyl is getting a lot weirder to produce, like expensive.
I can't even imagine at this point.
So that kind of put a brick in us for a little bit, but now have a lot lined up for the summer that I'm excited about.
You know, I want to put up a picture for people to see of one of the latest things that you did. I think it's Ghost Camp.
Camp Ghost. Yeah, I have a copy of that with me.
Yeah. Oh, see, I don't even have to put it on the screen. It's right here. Look at that. That is beautiful.
Yeah, these came out really good, and they're all recycled like vinyl clippings from when they cut it, so not one is alike. So this one came out really cool.
So clean.
And this was a collab with a record label from Germany called Gizmoy, and I just hit them up on Instagram like, hey, do you want to collab on this release? And they were like, absolutely.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But oh my god, this release was delayed for like 6 months because I ordered the jackets, and I guess, I don't know, they just never printed them. Like, I got the Goalkeeper and Pucker Up jackets before then, and we announced that in November.
Huh.
So
It's wild.
it is what it is, and it's just, a lot of our stuff comes from Canada, and when all that stuff, like the scare stuff was starting to happen with the tariffs again, they kind of didn't stop taking orders, but
The production just
yeah,
slowed down.
kind of stopped. Yeah. I had like 6 orders placed with them, and then like it would be 4 weeks past the turnaround date, and then nothing. Like, it'll still say pre-press or whatever. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I still think I have stuff from August that I'm waiting for from duplication. It's just, I don't know.
How do you deal with, like, I mean, obviously, like, communicate, not to steal the question, but like, how do you deal with like communicating to bands? Like, is there ever any issue, or is everyone pretty much just like, I don't care?
Yeah,
You're putting out
usually
like physical
understanding.
stuff.
Yeah. We're lucky to not have really any big delays yet, but it's just like a lot of the times the estimates are like 1 or 2 weeks off, so I'll get a hey, what's up, and I'll be like, it just happens, or like test pressings take longer to get approved and a release gets delayed. So
Fair enough.
I don't know.
Awesome.
For this one in particular, the band is not from here, right?
No, they're from Utah.
How did you end up hooking up with them?
I think I saw them genuinely in a meme once, and I messaged them.
Meme, bro.
Well, I checked them out, obviously, and then I messaged them, and I was like, hey, do you want to do a 7-inch? And then they were like, sure, but we have a new LP coming out, so we ended up just doing that. And we're going to be doing more of their discography eventually this year, so I'm really stoked for that.
That's super cool. Well, since you brought the whole bunch here, I think we should go through them and maybe
cool.
talk about some of these, individually. So what's that one?
This one?
Yeah. That one's the first one that you talked to me. So the first one you guys did, right?
Yeah, this is Jimmy by Wild Red. This is personally one of my favorite EPs. This one's actually the second pressing we did. It's on a red color. You can get this on Sunday. We have a couple copies.
Nice.
But, the first ones we did were on blue. And it's really funny because I was like freshly turned 18 emailing TK like, hey, do you want to do a 7-inch? And I didn't think he'd respond. And it was just...
Yeah.
I remember calling my friend screaming like, holy shit, we're doing a 7-inch of Wild fucking Red. It's like...
That's awesome.
Because we grew up listening to Fantasy Camp or whatever, or like my friend Autumn did. And, it's so big for the both of us to work with the people we are and the ones that had such an impact on our lives here. The next one we did was a band called Auto Ignition, who are playing Sunday. We did this Jimmy Eat World rip cover, and we did 2 colors. We did a pigment swirl, which is this one. Oh no, this is a pink one. The salmon color, which came out really cool. And then we did one that's like clear with black smoke, and that one was my personal favorite of the 2. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Then this was the OK Buddy Wax Mage, where the alt covers were printed in this building at Center City Print. Shout out. But we hand numbered these, and then we wrote everyone's name on the back before we sent them out.
Oh, that's cool.
There are only 25 of these, and it's like an insane handmade variant.
Oh, wow.
So
That is
I don't
awesome.
really know anything besides other wax majors. Obviously, I haven't seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
I'm really happy with how that came out. It's also our first release with an insert who actually, the singer of Stand Still... Oh, is it not in here? Oh, it's not in here. Fuck. the singer Stan still did majority of the artwork for that release. Caleb from Bizarre did the alt cover, and then Chris Ventura once again did the A-side, B-side labels.
I was just gonna put them back in the
No, you're
plastic
good.
afterwards. That way, it's not like.
Yeah.
That's why he brought you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's for you. You do all the organizing. Right?
Yeah. We did Camp Ghost after OK Buddy, and I won't bring that out because we already talked about it. But after Camp Ghost, we did Pucker Up, which just is one of my favorites we did. Just because there's actual pieces of the B-side label. You can hold it and like look at it if you want, but
Oh, wow.
they tore up the label and pressed it into the record.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And that was like a surprise too. I didn't request that. They just kind of showed up.
Okay.
That's
I was
so
like,
neat.
holy shit, that's probably cooler than the last one.
Yeah, that is really neat.
I feel like all the artwork for a lot of the records that you have is so like pretty unique. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As far as like today's standards go, I feel like some bands take a more. I guess the modern approach is kind of like basic-ish. I don't know if I want to say that word. If
Yeah,
that
you
makes
might
sense,
get
you know
a
what I mean?
color, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. So like to actually see the vinyl in a specific way is so
I'm trying to
cool.
open this tape right here and try to
You're good, dude.
This release is our first cassette tape we ever did. I'm pretty sure we did this back in January, but we did this with 51st State Records, which is ran by Joey from Coeo out of Long Island. And yeah, I think I just emailed him like, hey, I love your label. You like 10 years out, do you want to do a cassette tape together? And he was like, sure, absolutely. We did a really cool rip cover for this release where it was This Time Next Year by the movie Life, but we used a picture of the singer when he was like way younger and his dog, and it just came out so sick. I actually got to do the J card for this tape, so I actually got to do it for a couple of these, so I hope I get to do more of those coming up, and just more tapes in general, because they're cool. Like, they're not really the most convenient way to play music at all, but,
Right.
you know, I like it's like a mini, I don't know, I like the clankiness.
It's a audio fidget thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, good luck trying to find a player.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Cassette ASMR
Like,
for sure.
most cars don't even have CD players anymore, let alone a cassette player, so
Yes.
now you have to buy like your own almost
Separate.
dedicated, yeah.
It feels like we're going backwards almost. Where
Exactly.
We're gonna be like getting somehow we will devolve back into DVD players in
Yeah.
the car.
It's like how rich people only had cars and everyone had horses, and now
Yeah.
everyone has cars and only rich people have horses. It's
It's
like,
crazy.
I don't know.
You need a like a gramophone, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, go crank it first.
You
know.
like tape it to your passenger seat because
Get
we
off
don't
the
have
computer, I need
seatbelts
to
anymore.
make a phone call.
For sure. Oh my god.
This release was Trail Cam by Trail Cam. It's Jonah from Wild Red and Hot Mulligan, and obviously he also goes by Fantasy Camp. But it's him and his partner, and we did about 30 of these on a cappuccino-like tape, which you can barely see it, but there's like a little bit of swirl to that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it's like super synthy, poppy. I really enjoy
Yeah,
it.
even the label itself is pretty cool. You can see
Yeah.
in there. It's not, a lot of I'm old enough to have had cassettes growing
Yeah.
up, and they were usually pretty plain. For the
Yeah, that's
most
what I was
part.
gonna say. There's never usually like a label, so
Yeah.
the fact that I think on like every one you guys have something.
Yeah, everyone but like
not
these
just-
ones.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Then this one's a test pressing, but this one's Pins and Needles by Goalkeeper.
Oh, okay.
Goalkeeper, a band I've listened to since I was 14, like no joke or exaggeration. So I've been trying to do something with them forever. But, I just hit them up about doing this release after their old record label fizzled out or whatever. And then, it just worked out, and we're sold out of most of our copies, which is insane. That's like our only release to hit those numbers. So
They're literally like the most genuine dudes.
yeah, I love
Like,
Mark. I love Brian.
Cody.
They're- I haven't met Cody honestly, but he's pretty
He's
chill.
so cool. So dope.
And then our latest release was a band from Australia called Offset Vision. We actually did an OBI strip where you can just scan the barcode on the back and it'll take you to all their social media links, because obviously most people aren't going to know a local band from Australia. So I would say they sound a lot like Belmont and The Story So Far, if they kind of stayed in the direction of Overstepping and like High Regard style songs. If I can open it. I really should have opened these in advance. Now everyone on the internet's gonna see that I can't open plastic.
People like the sound of this probably. I'm certain there's someone out there that's like,
there's someone right now like, this is ASMR.
This is the greatest thing. There's one person out there that's gonna see this and be like, I'm gonna follow that label forever just because of this specific moment.
Or unfollow.
Or a handful of that,
I hope they respect that I'm not littering and putting all my garbage in my pocket.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. These ones have no label, unfortunately.
But the outside, though, is pretty clear.
Yeah.
You got that strip, too.
It's wild that you could see.
We got a picture of them on the inside.
Yeah, that's nice, too.
That's about it for all the things we have in hand right now, though. We're waiting for Zubin and Fantasy Camps records to come in, and then we're about to get ready for a bunch more stuff, so definitely stay tuned for that. And more shows, obviously. We want to try and do a lot more shows this summer. Just because we have the means to, and whatever. We have a lot more connections now, so I could just like email someone, and if they fall through, it's not like show's over or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is another really great thing about like doing all these releases. I've made so many great connections that like I got to make so many great collaborations over the last year, like 51st State Records, Gizmoy Records, and now we're dropping a zine that we're distributing for Bedford Towers, who is just someone I've followed for a long time for their work with One Step Closer. So
yeah, he does some photography stuff.
Yeah.
I talked to him say last year, the year before. I think it was last year for an article. Really, his stuff is really, really interesting.
Obviously, photography is an art, but like his photography is like artwork. Like it doesn't look like a photo.
Right.
That's so cool.
He just knows how to draw attention to like everything that needs attention. And when he did the photos for Pucker Up, and I forget what other zine he did. I'm very sorry for forgetting the title, but I was just like, even how the pages were, I was just like, this looks amazing. Like none of the quality was like compromised when it was printed, which I really appreciate it.
Yeah, people I don't think appreciate enough what goes into the photography.
Yeah, absolutely. Too. Like I see, it's another thing. Like I see people sometimes disrespect like photographers at shows, and this was a long time ago. It might have been at 2014 Warped Tour or 2015. I don't remember when. But it was an outside show, and there was just like, God. I'm sorry, I'm like so anxious right now.
There's no reason. You're good, homie.
TLDR, just respect your photographers. They are so important.
Especially in an age like this where social media
it's cool to
is
be
so
like
prevalent.
slam.
So,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It's like today you'll go and see photographers and like Bill.
Yeah.
One, you know, shoots goalkeeper and plays in Closing In, super dope hardcore band. You'll see them like in the crowd and actually like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Capturing real moments and stuff like that. That was like one thing where like on the Handguns tour that I did in, you know, a couple different ones, but our buddy Marshall was taking pictures. And like he'll be in the crowd. Sometimes you just gotta crowd surf to get the perfect shot. You know what I mean? Like It's wild to see them. It's like a different kind of like war zone. You know? It's like here we go, man.
Think about how much money their equipment costs.
Oh yeah.
And they're putting that all on the line every time they jump into a pit or anything like that. Because one wrong move and there goes a couple $1,000.
I hope that shit's insured.
Yeah, for real. So like definitely respect your photographers and just like manager, like, you know,
anyone that's
anyone
like working a show
behind the scenes. Like you said before, you were like, you had a appreciation for the behind the scenes work that goes into it. Like, a lot of people don't realize setting up stages, lighting rigs for
the labor.
stages, anything. It's more than just like the 3 or 4 people on the stage. You know, I'm obviously not talking about, you know, a DIY show, but even DIY shows, house shows, that's someone's
the people that put
place,
them together.
you know what I mean?
Important.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So, like, I definitely think the thought process some people have is to just go in and be like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, this place, whatever, we're gonna mess it up. And it's like, in context to, like, hardcore, yeah, like, fuck that shit up. But, like, in context to, like, respecting the people in the venue and stuff like that, as long as they're respectful to you, you know, I feel like you should pay the same thing. You know?
Like, collateral damage is another thing, but, like, as long as you're having fun and you're not being malicious, you know, I really love going to shows in the scene and surrounding areas.
Especially around here. I feel
around
it's
here,
like we
our
have a
scene's
really
crazy.
decent, you know, it's like, I don't want to slam New Jersey, but going to a show in PA versus going to a show in Jersey, it's a drastic change. Here, it's like everyone's picking each other up. You know what I mean? Like, no one's getting dropped. Everyone's a friend. There's someone to talk to, even if you're antisocial. Like, there's people there, and you just feel, because you're all there for the same reason. Then you go to Jersey, and it's like just like falling on top of someone. Like, no one's really cares. I mean, I'm speaking from like at least 4 experiences. But yeah, no. Not to slam Jersey or anything.
No, we should slam
The
Jersey.
PA scene is definitely where it's at.
And there's always, you know, you could always guarantee that there's a photographer at every show too.
Oh yeah,
you know,
if not multiple.
And they document this stuff, and I think the sad part is that most people don't respect the photographers enough to even give them credit. A lot of times, like, they'll steal their photos and be like, yeah, cool, look, we did this show, and they're posting all these photos, and it's like, yeah, but who took those?
Who did that?
Yeah, like, hey, you know, you might want to give some kind of, you know, shout out or credit to all the people that, you know, go out there, usually not getting paid to do it, just, you know, because they're fans or they want to see this stuff, you know, documented and stuff. And you think about, like, the years and years of the punk and hardcore scene around here that lives in those photos now, because especially like nowadays, it's like it's still special, but it maybe is not as much because everyone has a phone that they can pull out. So a lot of stuff gets documented now. But I think about like the stuff, the shows that I went to growing up, and it's like that lives in people's memories. And maybe somebody who brought a disposable camera that day that took a couple of really bad, you know, really washed out pictures.
Didn't write their name on it.
Yes, exactly. That's like the only, you know, the only people that know this ever happened were the people there, and that's it.
I feel like that type of thing still exists, though, in the best way possible. One thing that I do, like playing shows, for example, is like I do a set, but like I always make sure to do one song that I'm like, I'm doing this on the spot, and this is for everyone here. You want to record it, go for it, but this is like living in that moment and seeing the bands that you work with, like living in the moment and like actually being there and being present. I mean, social media is prevalent for sure.
Sure.
But like 9 times out of 10, someone is taking a video of that moment that you're in. So just just be there, you know.
Right,
so
right.
It's really cool to see that it kind of is going back to that, and that's why I applaud like for giving credit to all the people that deserve it, you know, behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah.
You know? It's really rad.
Like, half of the things we do wouldn't be possible if there weren't so many like other people like helping or just giving tips on what we're doing. So I'm just so thankful that we have the community we have here in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, and just Pennsylvania and Long Island in general. It's just everyone gets along and wants to make cool stuff happen.
Now, is that a lot of just asking around of like who does this or who does that or whatever? Like, how do you put together, you know, the people that have helped you with Punkstyria over the years?
It just kind of happens. Like, I'll kind of find people that have the same interests as me, or like want to have the same endeavors or whatnot, and we'll work on things together for a little bit. But I never like set out for like someone to help or whatever. It's just like, you know, whenever my friends have time, they'll, you know, help out with this release or like other things like that.
I feel like it's being open to the world around you.
Yeah, it's
You know
kind of
what I mean?
crazy.
I've noticed how like opportunities just kind of like pop up. I did a show at a bar, and then later after that, my buddy AJ was like, "I really liked your set. Do you want to go record a live session right next door in this theater?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's a lot of like just kind of like saying yes to things
Really?
and kind of just like remembering who originally came to you, going back to those people and cycling through that, you know.
You just have
Feel
to
like-
ask.
For sure. Literally, some of the opportunities that you've told me about, and I'm not sure whether you'll talk about it here, but like the fact that you were like, oh, I just messaged them on Instagram and it's like a bigger
Yeah.
artist and they're like, yeah, we would love to work with you. And I'm just
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
how? Like, how is that even life? But like, that is definitely a plus with social media these days, is that you could literally reach out to anyone and just throw that, like, I exist out there.
Yes.
And then whether those people are in tune with it, and sometimes it's just a timing thing, you know? So
Yeah.
just, it doesn't hurt to always, like, come back and be like, hey, I still exist. Can
Yeah.
you do this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how you've like described a lot of things to me, and I feel like that's so cool that it really is just the energy that you're putting into your work and then throwing it out to other people and being like, we got this thing going, I think you would work well here, you know.
Hell yeah, dude.
Coming back. So I've been watching. You know what I mean?
Thank
like
you.
so
That means so
I
much.
say it. Hell yeah, man. Sweet.
So, what is your interest with physical media? Because you're how old?
I'm 19.
19 now. So, and you started this when you were like 14.
Yeah.
So, most of people growing up now, I mean, people who are my age or older are all kind of have switched over to digital and don't really care about physical media anymore. So certainly the younger generations aren't even used to having mostly physical media around. So
Yeah.
what is it about physical media that gets you excited and makes you want to produce this stuff?
I really like just honestly having the big I'm sorry, Billy.
I
Thank
got
you.
you.
I just like having the bigger artwork, and it's just an expansion of the art itself that I really appreciate it. And I don't know why, just the fact that this piece of plastic just makes noise will forever blow my mind. Like, it just makes no sense, and it's so nutty. And, like, I don't know, there's just nothing like sitting and listening to a record that you really enjoy and blasting on a good set of speakers just because, you know, you hear things in the mix that you didn't hear before. Like, I'll listen to Minus the Bear records on vinyl and I'll be like, wait, that I never heard that before. And it's just, it seems like every time I get a new record on vinyl, I hear something in the songs that I didn't hear on the digital mix or through my phone speakers.
That is, and I think that is what a true music fan does.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say that they're fans of music, but not really fans of music, if that makes any
Yeah, I
sense.
get you.
You know what I mean? Like, they could, walk into a bar or something and see a band playing and they'll just be like, I don't give a shit
Yeah.
about that, Whereas a music fan is going to go, oh, live music.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Let's check this out. Let's see what they've got. Your mind, if you're a music fan, I feel like your mind is open to that. And it's
Yeah.
open to music at all times. And you're always kind of listening for it, or you always want to go out and see it and that sort of thing. For other people, it's like more of like, maybe this will be a once in a while thing where I'll slap down $50 and now $100 or $150 to go see, to be shuffled into a big venue and wait in line and get my thing scanned and then sit in a specific seat and kind of just maybe record something on my phone every once in a while and enjoy music.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's not the music experience for me.
No, not at all.
I don't get
So
that
different.
whole sort of thing.
To add to that, I just went to Launch Conference this past weekend. It was
Yeah.
a really cool experience. I got to play a show. It was fun. And what I was playing in like a brewery, It was cool the amount of people that were participating and going to the specific event, right? But then also people just walking down the streets of Lancaster still, I probably said that wrong. Still,
Actually, I think that's
the proper way?
Yeah, that's
okay,
the proper
cool,
way you're
cool.
supposed to say it.
I
Yeah.
did it on accident. Let's go.
Yeah.
But just watching people walking down the streets and still being captivated by like, oh, there's a dude playing a guitar and his friend's slapping on a box. Let's go check that out. Like it is still alive. It's just in like, I mean, I guess that's a place you would expect it, but like it really is in places you wouldn't expect it, like dive bars and stuff like that. Like there's people out there. Me and my buddy played a show where like it was an open mic and we covered like a Taking Back Sunday song, and there was like 3 people that were in there like, I never heard anyone play this song live, and I'm like, are you serious? It was in Mountaintop, so it was like it was like a dive bar situation in Mountaintop, and we played 2 Taking Back Sunday songs, and we just had these 3 people like in the palm of our hand, like so stoked about live music and emo 2000s jams, so like it very well still exists. And as far as like the younger generation goes, like I think it's out there. I have a brother that's 10, 11. I suck at remembering ages no matter who you are. Couldn't be worse at that.
Yeah.
But like he loves Weezer, so like when they came around, I took him to see Weezer with Green Day on the Hella Mega Tour, and it was like insane. Like he's like standing there and he's like crying because they're playing like Pork and Beans or something. You know what I mean? He's like, eat my candy. You know what I mean? Like in the stands. So like, and any time, I just took him to see Goalkeeper with Pucker Up at the venue in Under the Ritz?
Dungeon.
Yeah, the Dungeon.
The Dungeon,
Yeah. Cool venue, but like that was his first time seeing, I guess, like what you could call a hardcore show with like closing in. So it's like he's watching people just like spin kick and stuff, and he's like, yeah, they're having a good time.
I can't
And he's
imagine
just, like,
spin
sitting
kicking in there.
No, well, you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
they're like moshing around, doing their thing. Maybe spin kick was an over exaggeration. They have a
Maybe like one person can spin kick if they just like.
they have I think it's like an axe throwing thing. And,
Yeah, they
and
do.
they
It's
told
right
them
next,
to put.
yeah.
They were like, you have to put up wood in this specific area so that no one can see into the window into the room, and that was like the green room for all the bands and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so cool. And I don't know, it's just really neat to watch like my younger brother be involved in like the music world that's out there. I play in a Weezer tribute band, so like whenever
That
we
is
play
true.
a certain song,
Nice.
I'm like, here you go, this is your part, you know what I mean? So it's really fun to have like a family that's also involved in, just like he was saying, like being supportive of that,
Right.
It's a lucky thing because there's not a lot of people out there with families that support their art, and it's crazy, right? Like that's a crazy world to live in. So I think through finding an art scene, a music scene, even if you think you're not going to fit in, just like throw it out there, because there's going to be someone, whether or not you think that someone would like it, it can be the worst thing that they've ever seen, and they will love it, and you'll be like, have it for free, and they're like, here's $500 because I believe in you, and you're going to just get better,
Right.
It's crazy how the scene works. That went like so many different directions, but I hope that all of them made sense to someone.
No, 100%.
For sure.
Well, what is it about, I guess maybe even on that, same sort of subject there, what are you looking for in the bands that you are putting on this label and working with? Is it like you are identifying with their music, or is it just like I want a whole bunch of different sounds, or like what are you looking for?
So when I started, it was really just bands in, like, I don't want to say smaller bands, but like more, I don't know, an adjective. I guess more local bands that I liked, that would sometimes tour other states if they would like want to do a pressing or whatnot. And then oh my god, again, it would just be the bands I liked. And then now it's just like my friends and whatnot, and like sometimes I'll find something big, or like someone will come my way and like, do you want to do a collaboration release? So I would say it's like still a little bit of how it was before and then how it is now.
So it's just kind of like seeing people that don't have physical media, and you're kind of like, you need this.
Pretty much,
basically.
yeah. Like, I'll shoot them a message or an email, and then they'll usually be stoked and be like, hell yeah.
Sure. There's so many bands, I think, recently that I've seen that are, like, starting up, that they don't have, like, shirts or merch and stuff like that. And,
Right.
you know, they're so... I think because you're, like, starving for it, you're kind of willing to go out to any website that's, like, $500 for 30, 40 shirts or whatever, like, you know what I mean? It's like a crazy amount. And I mean, I know I'm talking about shirts, but even with vinyl pressings, it's kind of like harder to find affordable things for people that are still like not necessarily like touring even, but like want to build that. It's weird being on like, we're on like two opposite sides of the music like cycle, so it's like it's cool to see that, but it's like it's weird to see like how many people are like, oh, I just wish I had this, but I don't know how to get to that point. Like, oh, I have artwork, but this artwork doesn't necessarily fit the resolution that you need for this, or like, you know what I mean? Like smaller things like that too.
Sure.
And I feel like you help a lot in that
absolutely.
process for sure.
And like, not really with like the artwork 99% of the time. I've only done a couple layouts and t-shirt designs that actually got used,
but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't let someone put something out that's
sure
like, this resolution doesn't work, so unless you want to have like random blocks on your you know what I mean?
I mean, like the auto ignition jackets kind of came out like that if you look really close, but I think that's just because it's an old map, because you see like the text isn't blurred, but like the map is like
no, but that's
fuzzy.
That's different though. Like this is like texture, you know what I mean? Like this is like, this feels like nostalgia, you know? So like it works. I definitely think that there's certain layers of quality that even with, I mean, that's what you're saying with vinyl, like there's a quality to it, the aspect of like hearing like a crackle or something that's not on this in the song, but it's like perfectly timed on beat or something weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I think that helps a lot for sure.
It's also like, you know, physical media can be archived a lot better than digital media can, so I think it's important to, you know, like
100%. There's gonna be a day when the internet doesn't exist, right? But like these things will still exist. You know, they're not gonna disappear unless you like, I don't know.
Especially with the threat of AI that we're not taking seriously enough, where it is polluting the internet. Much in the same way that we've destroyed the physical world. We've ruined the earth. It's never going to come back. So now we have to move on to the digital world, and we have to ruin that too. So we've set the bots out, and now the bots have taken over social media, so half the people you talk to or you see on there are not even real. And then now there's all this AI-generated slop music and videos and all kinds of things where it's just stealing other people's work and regurgitating it in these terrible ways and filling up the internet with all of this crap, and it makes it 10 times harder to find the good, genuine stuff out there. So like, I'm certainly a person that I still want physical media in my hand. I grew up with CDs, so I'm a little bit more of a CD guy because I'm like, I don't have any room for vinyl, but I do have some vinyl.
I get you.
You know, and we do. I keep some over here in the studio too. Anytime bands give us physical media, I try to have some of it here and stuff. Show that we care, we want that. You know, I feel like there should be maybe a library of that sort of stuff.
My friend Autumn has like more stuff we've put out than I do, weirdly. Like I gave my test pressings away to people and whatnot, so I honestly thought about like asking her like, hey, can you just take a picture of everything you have and then just posting it?
You could just have her do the Punkstyria like the library of
maybe eventually,
you know what I mean, like the art, the museum.
Once we get a little bit more established, maybe.
For sure. That's awesome. I feel like that's the human condition, though, right? Like, you know, you build something up so much until you have to destroy it and restart again.
Yes, that's true.
As Better Lovers once said, if you don't tear it all down, you can't ever build.
For sure.
And you know, and maybe to your point, maybe that makes physical media better in a lot of ways, because you know, there was also, you know, I think about when I used to have to go when a record came out, go to the record store and buy the CD and whatever. There were all these bins and bins and bins of CDs that were just total crap, that was just, you know, overproduced,
Sifting through it.
and sifted through it to get to like the good stuff, and just the used section of all the stuff that people listened to once and they didn't like it and then they traded it in or whatever, and that sort of thing. So like there's all of that stuff too. So, but nowadays, when physical media gets made, it's almost like it's specifically for the fans.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to overproduce this stuff like they did. Unless it's like Taylor Swift or something.
Exactly.
For sure. I think that's the thing too, is like battling rarity. You know, that depends on it as well. It's like you don't. I think a lot of people sometimes that aren't fans, I think it's cool. You're still in a stage where it's mostly people that are like, I love this band, I'm devoted in getting that. But like, you know, once you blast off and pivot, which will eventually happen, I genuinely can see it. You're so young, you know what I mean? Like, you have so much more momentum than something that's been around for like a hot minute, not that's just kind of like staying at the same plane, right?
Thank you.
But it's like, once artists start making like 100 copies of something, and then people go and buy it, and they're like, oh, well, this is worth 3,000 because I'm one of like 10 people that own 50 copies, you know, 30 copies or something like that. And that's crazy, you know. It's wild. We put like the value on everything, and I feel like what you do is like specifically for fans. It's not for like just the masses to cling to and be like, I own this and I'm making it a specific price.
Right.
So it's so cool. But the rarity of it is neat too, because it's like those people are going to hold on to that forever and be like, this is a Punkstyria, like this is it. This is the item. You know? It's so cool. For sure.
I try my best to keep most of our releases readily available. Like, we'll do represses if we have to, or, you know, just because there's no reason someone should have to pay, like, up to $500 or even more for a record that they just couldn't get because they were too late when they went on sale or whatnot. Like, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's really not fair to the fans either, because most of the times they're going to bots and whatnot, and it's just, you know, it's just messed up.
And all the people that the bootleg the merchandise and stuff too. You know, I think about like Title Fight. You know, when they were around here, I think everybody took it for granted that they'd just be around all the time, and then they kind of just stopped. And they gained such a worldwide audience that there's so many people that wanted that stuff, and I see people like taking a shirt that they had in the back of their closet and they're selling it for $1,000 to some guy, and it's like, oh man, that's that. And they do still print shirts and things like that, so that's cool. But like there's people who will take advantage of that,
for sure.
And a lot of times they're making bootlegs and things too, so like the band's not seeing any of that money, and that sucks.
It's like a crazy silver lining on how do you I mean, I guess it's different if it's a fan making themselves the shirt, you know what I mean? Like, you come out and, like, I don't know if it was, like, a show that I went to or something I've seen where, like, a fan was like, I made this, and they're like, I'm suing you, like, jokingly, you know what I mean? But, like, they're like, I'm going to sue you because that's better than the thing that we have entirely. But, like, I don't know.
That's a different. That's like
that's
totally
a different world for sure.
Yeah, because it's like you're making that for yourself as one person to represent something you love.
When you're making that mass amount and you're like, this is gonna be $30, and it's like a $10 T-shirt that someone could have bought, like
Sure. Or you're trying to trick people and be like, oh yeah, this is a genuine thing.
Yeah, that's
somebody just made them, and that's true. So I wanted to show off this shirt that you brought for me. That's a Punkstyria shirt, and this is an anime character.
Yeah,
I recognize
Ranma 1/2.
Ah, okay, all right, yeah. I'm a comic book guy, but I'm not an anime guy. So I'm vaguely familiar with it, but beyond that, why that design?
So there's a band called Glassjaw, and they also ripped that design. So I was just like, okay.
So there's a reference to that, though.
Yeah, like I have them tattooed on my arm, so it's like
Nice.
kind of a homage tribute to a band that I really like.
And you handed the tie-dye on.
Yeah, I did all of them in my bathroom. I just kind of, in the middle of February, or actually it was the middle of January, I just had all the windows open and just filled a water bottle with bleach and, you know, sorry Mom, sorry Grandma.
That's so cool, dude. That's crazy to think, you know, like, I mean, I'm gonna be 25, so, like, it's interesting to see where, like, you took off at, what, like, 13, 14, started doing, like, everything and taking it seriously at a young age. And I did, like, the same at 15 with, like, you know, learning how to play and going out and doing, like, all that stuff. But it's, like, what you're doing is so much more intricate than being, like, I'm just gonna take this song that exists and rewrite it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like, what you're doing is, like, finding logistics and, like, analytics and where would this sell better? Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you don't realize, like, you're so smart for your age. You know what I mean? It's
Try
like,
my best. It's just 95% of it is just knowing people, and, like, you know, a lot of it is you have to have releases that, like, people want to buy and want to put in their stores. So it's like, again, when we're picking bands, it has to be something that I genuinely really like to want to put out and, like, put my money up for.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's the same way in, like, a producer's aspect of, like, I don't want my name on this if it's gonna sound like shit no matter what I do to it or something like that. But, like, yeah, it's sweet that you have good taste in music. I feel like that works out very well. That's funny.
I'm just happy that, like, everyone that I've hit up really so far has been just down to do something, whether it's like a release or a show or just, you know, saying hi back and an apology. It's just very cool that, you know, I get as far as I do with these things.
Oh, for sure.
So, and this will lead into the show that we have coming up to promote. But tell us about some of the shows that you've done over the years, and you know how those kind of came together. How did you get into the promotion side of things and organizing shows?
So again, I kind of really got close with Jake from Handguns, and then I would just kind of find where the local bands were playing at, and then find the phone numbers for, like, the bowling alleys and, like, the bars or whatever that would have shows, and just call, hey, can I book a show here? And they were like, yeah, no problems asked. And then I'd show up like 14, 15, and they'd be like freaking out, like, the LCB can't find out about it. And it's just like, okay, can't you? Okay. And it's just, I don't know. I'm super glad to be out of that phase of my life because it was just so anxiety inducing.
Yeah, you're like, I just want to bring good music to the area.
Yeah, it
you're
just
like, I'll
sucks.
stand outside and, like, point to things if I have to.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
I'm just lucky that, you know, really only one dude kicked me out of a show when I was like 15. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that right before I was 21, I wanted to see a band in a bar, and they would not let me
That
for the life
sucks.
of me. And I'm like, I have no interest in drinking at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
Please, just I will stand in front of you the entire time. You can see
Seriously.
me in your line of sight. I will stand right here and look at the stage, and that is all I will do this entire time. Would not.
No.
Like, I get it, but I don't. You
Yeah.
know, like, come on.
Yeah, it's weird though. We were just talking about that, trying to find more all-age venues because there's not a ton in my area specifically where we're like 30 minutes apart. So, you know, mostly it's playing at breweries and bars and stuff like that. I mean, with breweries, you can usually get away. There's like, I think it's like by 9 o'clock, all younger people have to be out. But it's like, up here it seems to be more of a thing, right? That there's like all age venues, all age whatever's happening, you know.
And a lot of that is the DIY sort of ethic of those people just creating those things where they aren't, because it is mostly, you know, bars and things like that, and the focus on the drinking too. I think that also can take away from the music sometimes too. Like, I get, you know, having a couple of drinks to have a good time or something like that, but you know, people around here especially have just made it a pastime where that's what we're going to do. We're going out to drink. And if there's music there, that's great. If not, I don't really care. And so when the music is there, a lot of times they're not even paying attention to it, or they're not appreciating it the way that they should, you know? So, like, that can really ruin things as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel like... I'm sorry, Billy,
No,
you can
totally
go.
good. I was just going to say, I feel kind of, like, it's cool, but also I am, like, envious that there's a lot of, like, all-age stuff going on, because, like, I was in that one gap of, like, you know, nothing was happening, and I'm wanting to play
like
in
Cafe
bands,
Metro and those kinds of places
that
where
like,
Mecca's, you know, closed, and there's not always something in that time to open. Sometimes it takes a year or two or more to get something else off the ground that could replace it, and in that meantime, you just lose out on that completely.
For sure.
Shout out to Cafe Metro. My aunt saw Title Fight with I Am the Avalanche there in like 2005 or 2006.
That's so cool.
So, just like imagine that happening now. Like, that would be so crazy. Just even Title Fight
in general,
playing
a show, which should totally happen.
We need more, especially around here. We need more of those mid-tier sort of, like a Sherman Theater sort of thing. You know, and yes, granted, Stroudsburg is still Northeast Pennsylvania, so I'm happy that we have them. But would love if Scranton Wilkes-Barre could also have a theater like that could bring in those bands that maybe are club bands. They could fill a theater, they could fill a club, but not, you know, something like the Pavilion at Montage Mountain or something like that.
I mean, we have the Ritz Theater now, so that's a little bit like a theater.
Yeah, the Ritz, I think, is really going to help with that too. And they're still and they're getting, you know, they're booking bigger and bigger stuff.
Yeah, Balls is always doing stuff.
Yeah.
He's another really big inspiration for, like, you know, being someone in the scene. Just like, I never got crazy and Emotionless in White, but just his businesses are just, every time you go there, it's a good experience. So just, I kind of want to do that for records.
Right. Sure. So you tell me about some of the venues that you have booked places at, and that you think, you know, went really well, or maybe some that went sideways. You know,
I booked a show where there was no PA system, and then there was someone attending the show with a full PA system in his car. Like, that shit does not happen anywhere else. I was
incredible.
like, and he didn't let me pay him either. And I had to like slip him $100 or whatever in his like bag, because he was like, no, I don't want, I just had this. And I was like, but like, you brought it in, and he was just so humble about it. And, that was probably really the only one that ever went south. I booked a lot of shows at the Strike Zone Alleys, like the bar in there in Pottsville, but not necessarily steering away from that, but it's just doing all ages stuff is a lot more important to me now than it was when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I was just booking like wherever I could, but now like I know where the all ages spots are, and I'm a little more aware of the scene. I can just, you know, find the Triangle Club, or like how we're doing on Sunday at Doug's, you know, just, you know, really know where to do these things where people can come out.
Could you tell us about, you know, since you're, I would say a different generation than me, so, you know, I'm always, you know, learning about new bands and people coming up and stuff like that. So tell me about the scene for you guys, you know, at your age, like who, you know, who's out there now, and what is the scene like in general? Is there a lot going on? Is there maybe a struggle to find venues? Like what is it like for you guys currently?
Schuylkill County scene's like fucking dead. Like,
It's crazy because I was gonna say the opposite.
Really? I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember. Like, besides some people that want to pretend they're Janis Joplin, there's no shit going on down there. Like,
valid.
there's just, I don't know.
I think it's circling back to what I said before. It's not where you expect it to be. You know, it's usually in like a brewery or a coffee shop that like doesn't promote the fact that they have a show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the biggest issue is like venues maybe not promoting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without being so like blatant about it or like black and white. Of course the artist has to promote too. It's not all on the venue, but like for me, it's like it has, yeah, mostly on the venue. I would say 75-25.
Yeah.
You know, 60-40. Being a solo artist and knowing how hard it is to book a show, promote that same show 7 times, book a show next day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much that goes into it when all a promoter has to do is maybe like, you know, tell someone, hey, can you just send this? Can you just share this? You can, at this point, you know, technology, as much as it sucks sometimes, it's like we can program when something's going to be posted. So maybe just one day, take like an hour or two, set up posts for the next week or something. But yeah, I think it kind of is dead in a sense. I grew up where my uncle was playing in metalcore bands, you know, in 2013, 12, 11.
Yeah, we don't have any of that anymore.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore, but like I remember seeing like Now the City with Terror on the screen and like
back
all
in the day,
those bands.
we had like Cyanide Sunrise, Tusco, God, there's a lot more I'm gonna forget.
Yeah,
Probably
for sure.
help me
When
out.
you're in the moment of it.
Yeah.
But like so many bands that like they pretty much made the scene, but now it's kind of hard because like every band that's playing has the same friend group and every band is playing on the same day and in different places, and it's like you can't be at 2 places at once. So it is a struggle. I don't think that it's dead, more so that I think it's like not a lot of people are able to find it because it's in basements or like you know what I mean, like it's almost like a not gatekeepy, but accidentally it's a gatekeepy thing.
Secluded.
Yeah, it's very like because people are either like, I don't know, maybe trying to hide from licensing situations or something. Like
also understandable.
Yeah. But
just be careful with that. Whoever you are doing that, be very careful because those people are relentless.
for sure. But there's definitely a lot of DIY spots out there, to name a few. Like I've been to the Gnome Hutch, I've been to House of Jank. But it does still feel like an underground thing. It's like I didn't know those places existed until like word of mouth, or like another band that I played with being like, oh, we're gonna be here, and I'm like, that's like 30 minutes from where I'm at. How did I not know this existed for the last 4 or 5 years? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
That's what it was like at the OK Buddy record release show, because it was like 45 minutes from my house, and then I realized that like Amityville's only like less than little over an hour from my house, and I'm like, what the fuck? How did I not know this on my life?
It's weird. It's a weird thing. It exists for sure. But like you said, I don't think that the scene is dead. I just think that people's ability to get to it.
Scene grew up.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. It's harder to get to it because of social media, maybe. You know?
Yes.
The 30 seconds it takes to watch someone play some short song versus going out and setting a whole day aside to go and enjoy a show.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed a bit of a trend, at least in locally, and maybe this is something nationally as well, where when social media became the thing, especially, you know, you first had MySpace, and then Facebook really took over, and you know, Twitter was a thing. Now it's become kind of too politicized, but Instagram became the thing. A lot of the bands now, when it first happened, it seemed like every band bombarded you all day on social media, and they're just they're overproducing content. They're just producing content constantly, trying to get you to pay attention to them.
And I've noticed, at least with local bands a lot now, it's like if you get them to update their Instagram every 6 months,
you're lucky. Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if they're thinking like that's the strategy. Let's not annoy people. Let's just put something out every once in a while. If it's just pure like, you know what, nobody cares anymore, so I'm just not even gonna bother. But like whatever the case is, that's what I've seen. It's like the bands just don't promote.
I feel like it depends for sure. It could be algorithmic. I mean, not in like in a negative way or something. I feel like certain band, like not even bands, but just I think as a musician or an artist, I feel like you can feel what's the word, discouraged if you see someone that's putting something out that may be lacking quality to you, right? I think this ties into it for sure. And so you're like, why are they getting these shows, or why are they getting this or that? And it's more so less like that person's out there doing and reaching for something and going for it. And that's something I had to put in my head, because for the longest time I was that like sitting in my room like, oh, why am I not getting the same shows as like my homies or something like that? And that's not even in a negative way. It's just like I want to be with, I want to be doing the same thing. And it's like you just have to go and do it.
Yeah.
And I think like, some bands can get away with not posting for a while because like their friends are still in the scene, their friends are still in the venues, they're booking shows. Like you don't have to do much. But like if you're a starving artist and you want to be something, you need to make those connections as well, And I think the ability to be genuine is so few and far between these days. Luckily in our scene, like I think it's pretty obvious who is like a real person, you know what I mean? Yeah. Who's a real musician, who's a real artist, and who really cares about what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
So it's easy to look through the negative stuff and sift that out.
Yeah.
Basically post more if you're a band. Just, you know what I mean? Like, if that is the argument that the venue's not posting enough or the promoter's not posting enough, then like, forget about it. Just you be that person. I'm an opening act, but I started using like bands in town for like anyone that is new to like making music. If you have a Spotify, you can make a bands in town artist account or like Songkick, stuff like that. And you can post the show that you're on, tag all the bands that are in it. I played at recently it was a pole dance studio called Go Getter Movement Studio. It was really cool. And I put that show up on Bandcamp, or not Bandcamp, Bands in Town. And literally like this dude was like, oh, I saw the post, I didn't know that there was even shows happening at this place, this is so cool, I brought like 6 of my friends. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of people for to me a DIY show. So like those little things that I just didn't know existed until like a conference like Launch, or like my friends in bands that kind of tour and stuff like that. Those little nuances matter more than maybe a post on Instagram. Make an account for some type of touring site or show, concert avenue. I don't even know how to explain it. You just gotta Google like, where should I post my shows? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we have that technology today.
Right.
So, for sure.
Shout out Wilkes-Barre Shows on Instagram.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important accounts in the area. You should follow if you want to go to shows, because just every like couple weeks, TK, or I think that's who runs that account, will post a show, and it's just awesome, because I used to think for so long, like Billy said, I didn't even know they were doing shows around here still. So just to see them so frequently and with usually younger people, it's just, I love our scene.
And I think that's what it is word of mouth. That's still the best way to get the word out there.
100%.
Speaking of words from mouths, the show on Sunday, we should
yes
circle back to that.
Let's circle back to that.
So this is called Kingston Loves You Fest.
Yes.
So where does that come from?
It is a stem from the song You Can't Say Kingston Doesn't Love You by Title Fight, just because they're obviously a very important band of the scene, and I thought it would be nice to have a little nod to them as the title of the show.
And Kingston obviously is a huge part of the punk and hardcore scene and
100%.
stuff like that, and has so much history there. So is the idea to maybe kind of add to that a little bit with what you're doing?
I would say definitely. Like, it's not my intention, but, like, you know, it's obviously unavoidable when you're bringing people together. And it's, like, a good unavoidable. Like, you know, you're bringing people together for good times that probably wouldn't have happened if you didn't email all these bands. So it's, like, you know, I would say probably. And I'm very thankful, too, because a lot of people dream to do these things, and I actually get to do them, and I'm pretty excited and happy I get to do it in a small capacity.
So I'm going to put the flyer up on the screen here, and then we can talk about the lineup here. So how did you choose these bands? We have Stand Still, Pucker Up, Okay Buddy, 10 Years Out, Auto Ignition, West Main, Deadshot, Deep Disdain, and Catchin' Yetis.
So they were all just really bands I would either listen to a bunch, like Stand Still and Okay Buddy, or just like friends I knew, like 10 Years Out, Catchin' Yetis, and the rest of the lineup. Deep Disdain were added just because of Tributary breaking up, and then my friend Ben sent me their demo tape a while ago, and they were looking for a show. Shut up, Ben. They were looking for a show a while ago, and it just didn't work out with my schedule, so I hit them up to take their slot, and it worked out. But, like, I go back with Gavin from Catchin' Yetis, like, God, almost 5 years. We were in our first ever band together, or one of our first ever bands together. So it's just really cool to have that history, and then have him on the show. And then, like, oh my God, Pucker Up, you know, Demi and Shug. We got to meet them at a Bide Coffee House, which isn't really far from here,
Right.
to do the vinyl pressing, and they've always felt more like friends than, you know, band that I work with, which I don't feel like that a lot of the time per se, but, like, with them, I just feel specifically comfortable, like, hey, do you want to do this or whatever? You know, I just really wanted to put, like, one day together where, like, all my friends from Long Island and around Pennsylvania can just get together and rip one show. I feel like the biggest thing of this label is it brings people together and, you know, makes things happen, and I want to keep that going as long as possible and hopefully do more of these shows with more bands.
Do you feel like this kind of represents a certain sound or anything that's going on in the scene right now?
I would say a little bit. It's probably a variety show, to be honest, because we have some hardcore, pop, punk, indie. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we have bands like Stand Still, Okay Buddy, Auto Ignition that have that, like, more modern hardcore sound. So I would say, like, the majority would be that. But in general, when I'm, like, booking shows or picking artists, I don't really go for one specific sound. Like, we have Camp Ghost, who are a Midwest emo band from Utah, and then we have spilled my water. We have Offset Vision, who are from Australia, and it's just, you know, they're two different bands, and you know, we still put them out just because they're good dudes, and they make good music, importantly.
And Doug's Boardroom is actually a pretty cool venue.
Oh, I love that spot.
For the One Step Closer, their album release show, and it was a lot of fun. And I was just it was so nice too, because a lot of, as you know, we were talking about before with kind of DIY places, sometimes you walk in and you're like, oh, we're all gonna die here.
Yeah.
This is a fire hazard, and we're all gonna die by before the show is over. This is gonna be a tragedy of some kind. Something's gonna catch on fire, and there's no emergency exit. So when you walk in a place, it's like it's well lit. There's plenty of room for everybody to move around. There's plenty of room for a pit. And there are exits on both sides. Yeah. It's like, this is great. This is fantastic.
I almost feel like that's scarier because you're like, what is the fear?
This is too nice.
I know all my exits for a logical thing, but what's the illogical thing?
Right. So yeah, super cool venue.
Oh yeah, they're also just, they host a lot of cool shows there, and the fact that they're willing to use their space for these kinds of shows means a lot, because a lot of places are scared, with like obviously the videos and a little bit of the destruction that happens with these shows. It's really means a lot that they're hosting this for us.
I feel like a lot of the times people that see it on surface level, like they only see like an aftermath of what not a hardcore show is. It's just people kind of.
It's kind of different after the Okay Buddy record release show.
Yeah, it's like that scene is like the most. I feel like the hardcore scene is like the most supportive scene. Like everyone's there for the same reason, which is to have a good time. Yeah, you're like swinging and punching and getting your aggression out, but if someone goes down, there's not one time where I've seen no one pick them up in this area. To circle back to what we were saying before, like this scene is definitely the most like. If you're having a good time and you're not there to like bother anyone, if you're not crowd killing, no one's gonna mess with you. But if you try to do that, you'll get. I think if someone sees you do something stupid, they'll make it a point to let you know that it was a dumb decision, But
yeah, I think maybe some people might be a little intimidated, especially when they hear the word hardcore.
Yeah,
I think some people are like, well, I don't know, I don't feel like I'm hardcore.
I don't feel like
I don't know if I can handle that sort of
it's
thing.
So
but
funny.
it's not like that.
No, not
to reference that, I took my buddy Connor to that Okay Buddy show, and it was his first time at a hardcore show.
And that show was insane.
I felt kind of bad because we're standing there having a great time, and then the pit opens up and he got smashed right in the face. His glasses flew down. Like, oh man, are you all right? Like, are you good? Like, just out of nowhere. And he was like, he like picked it up and he's like, that was fucking awesome. Like, what? I was like, you definitely have to be a certain breed to enjoy that type of stuff, but like
have to be built. Oh my god, built different.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe incorrectly.
But like that doesn't mean there's not a space for people that don't necessarily, want to mosh or get hit or something like that. There's always like a place in the crowd, and you always find your group of people that are like, I got your back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really cool.
All right. So, by the way, if anybody wants to ask any questions, now's the time to do that. So, if anybody wants to add to the conversation, because we're going to be wrapping up in a couple minutes here, but I want to get to some of the little random stuff around here. Let's see who are maybe some of the bands out there now that we should be listening to or paying attention to in the scene.
Oh my god. With us, our entire roster, but just to name a few, Wild Red, A Sky So Black, Okay Buddy, Auto Ignition, Deadshot, 10 Years Out, God, there's a lot more. Peace Corps, Cheat It, Fool's Game. They just put out a new LP on Triple B Records, which is insane.
Dude, Fool's Game they're so good.
I love Clemo. My god. I don't know, there's just a lot more. Like, just get involved in your local scene and see what records are coming out, and then, ask your friends what they're listening to, and then, that's eventually how we got to all of this, so, that's really what I'd say to keep your eye on, is just, what your homies are listening to.
Yeah, definitely go out and see your friends play shows. Don't be that person that's like,
going to shows,
I saw you online doing this thing, and then they like hit you up and they're like, "Yo, you're doing so well," and it's like, yeah, I've been doing well. It's just you're not there to witness it. It's like, oh, it looks like you're doing a lot. And it's like, yeah, I'm doing a lot. And I'm doing a lot of things. And you're not sharing it. Weird. But it's okay. I'll share that you're doing your thing. It's you gotta, if you want to be involved, you really gotta get involved and do it yourself. Like, it starts with you. Everything that you do starts right here inside of yourself. As an uplifting spokesperson to mental health and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, that's the other thing with like the music scene, is like mental health is huge.
Oh yeah.
And everyone's got their own problems, and I think that if you can create in any capacity, you should do it, because that's how you're going to get out whatever it is that's bothering you, you might not even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I feel like, you're not creating art, you're not creating music just for yourself. You're putting it out there so other people can share it.
That's the whole goal.
And there's not enough of especially, obviously I don't want to focus on social media so much because I think one of the lessons we're talking about here is go out in the real world and do real things and actually talk to real people in person, and you'll find it's much different.
Not only
than
that,
what social media feeds you.
There's still people putting up, posters and flyers for
That's true,
shows
yes.
on pin boards, and so if you go to a Sheetz or a Wawa, whatever's near you, look at the pin board. I do that every time, you know what I mean? I go in and I see there's a local band playing, there's an event happening at Penn State with a couple of bands from my area. I think it's P71, the Zenith, and Dynamics Department, which are all great bands doing their own thing, and
Mostly great bands.
Yeah, from the Pottsville area, but it's really cool that there's still actually live music being put out there in a form of we're gonna go and tape this shit to a pole, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And hopefully someone comes out and you'll see that. Just look for the signs that it's there, because it's there. I think most people just don't open their eyes. They're look around. Everyone's so glued to this is my day and I have to go to work or do this thing and I'm just gonna stare at the ground. And it's just look up for 2 seconds. Take your eyes off your phone and
Right.
the opportunities are everywhere.
Exactly.
For sure.
And don't I feel like too, and maybe more people need to kind of see it this way. Everybody kind of likes to think of themselves as independent thinkers,
Yeah.
or people who I don't think like most people. I have my own sort of thing, and it's well, but is your musical taste also the same way, or was it manufactured by a couple of corporations that own large record companies that pump the same crap to you all day long on radio stations and in your social media feeds and things like that, and you're like, oh, music sucks these days. You hear that all the time. Oh, music's not like it used to be and whatever, and it's because you have to push past all that stuff and actually get to the good stuff.
Not only that, though, too, I think there is a lot of good music in the mass-produced area, to be that devil's advocate.
Sure.
I just got into Billy Strings. You know what I mean? That dude rips, and I watched his interviews and stuff like that, and maybe that's why, because I'm oh, this is a real person. But I get what you're saying. It's kind of like an industry plant type situation where it's I don't know, Sleep Token maybe. And at the risk of putting myself in a weird scenario, realizing that Pete Wentz owns 3 different labels, and under those 3 different labels is the same 30 bands. And, it's what the hell? It's there's a music monopoly going on, and they have all the railroads, and it's kind of bullshit, dude. It's crazy.
Cobra Starship have a song called Pete Wentz is the only reason we're famous, and I think that's really funny, because it's true.
Yeah. It's wild, but yeah, to push through and find that there is different smaller labels out there that are doing similar things and putting out great bands and great records that are just not getting the push because of an algorithmic thing,
right?
Or not paying the right person enough money.
And it's funny that you bring up Billy Strings, because not a lot of people remember this, but just a few years ago, before when he was doing mostly stuff on his own, before anybody knew who he was, he played the Chandelier Lobby of the Kirby Center.
Crazy.
Oh, wow.
And we all know those shows are a couple hundred people max. We're not talking he wasn't even big enough for the theater. Now the theater would probably kill to have him there, because within just a few years of that, he was playing the arena right up the street
insane.
from the Kirby Center and selling it out. He's sold out that thing. And yet you'll still see, I remember when they announced, because I think he's done 2 shows there now at the arena.
Yeah.
And when they announced the shows, I would see people in the comments going, who? And I'm like, which I hate that. Like, that's the worst thing. It just shows you're a completely a boring, non-curious
Exactly.
person
Yeah, out of
that
touch.
is not interested in learning anything new. And the 5 bands that you've known since you were a teenager are the only things that you know that you've followed your whole life. But like, that is really interesting to me because Billy Strings was just as talented then
As he is.
now.
Yeah.
But he was playing this little place because nobody had heard of him yet. So if you went to that show, you were in for something,
An experience
something
you
special.
you would have never had. Which most of those people probably went because they saw a flyer of some sort
Yes.
somewhere. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to like. I'm starting to understand. Like I think going to the launch conference was probably like the best thing that ever happened to me, getting to meet people that are higher up in the industry and more so understanding what your side of things is and like just being like hands-on in a realm of like people being like you have to want it. And I've heard that like my whole life from, so many different people. It's like you have to want the thing that you're going after. But like actually being like, oh, you genuinely have to like 24 hours, this is your new job, is figuring out, okay, I want to play at this venue. Well, they're friends with this person who I know is friends with this person. Maybe that's the connection that I need to make this come true. And Billy Strings probably just played in front of the right people at the smallest bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's all it takes. You never know the like no one knows the face of promoters in the area, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so they could just be hanging out anytime, anywhere. You could be on the side of the street and someone sees you. Like, I think there is a lot of luck when it comes to music and art, but I think it's also mostly dedication.
Yeah.
There is that small bit of luck.
Right.
But
right.
it's definitely there. And being genuine and going and supporting other shows. Being an artist that goes out to another show is so important.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to see your friends play or see a new band play, how is that band going to want to even come to your show, see you play or play with you? You
Right.
know what I mean? So it is a lot of music is just networking and actually going to shows. And I think like this dude does it the best because he puts a show on and he's there.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with the issues there. There's been times where I've seen promoters book a show and they're not in the room.
Shout out Tom Taylor. Actor, model, DJ, wrestler.
Holy shit. No filter.
This is uncensored.
That's the way it should be.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
absolutely.
I'll just stay neutral. I'm just here. But yeah, no, like actually being there and doing everything for the scene, like
Yeah.
I watch him do it. I've seen you deal with some interesting problems, such as like selling out of the venue and then having to tell people like, sorry, you can't come in. You know what I mean? That was the show that I took Connor to.
Yeah.
It was like people were dropping their friends off in the parking lot, parking like ways away, and like we're filling this room, and I was like, originally getting there is like there's 5 cars in the lot, and I'm like, oh man, I feel like so bad, and then like 2 seconds later it's like packed.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be real, like there's a madness to your whole thing. Like you're just like, but there has to be, you have to be slightly delusional to be an artist in any capacity.
Yeah.
You have to be like, this is gonna happen, and people are gonna be like, that's impossible, and you're like, yep, I'm gonna make the impossible happen. And I've witnessed it firsthand. So I'm so stoked to see what Kingston Loves You is gonna be like, and to be a part of that for sure.
Hell yeah. And with that OK Buddy show, Laura just killed it running that whole thing.
For sure.
Shout out Controller from Lehigh Valley. Definitely check them out. One of the heaviest bands in Pennsylvania, next to the Burgos.
Hell yeah.
And every one of these shows is an opportunity for the bands as well. You know, we've been talking a lot about the fans and the people who come out to shows, and it's of course an opportunity for them, but it's also an opportunity for these bands to have a place to play.
Yeah.
And to meet other bands and see other bands and go, okay, wow, I've never seen these guys before. We've never been in the same room together. Now I want to tour with them or something like that. So
100%.
you know, like that part of it is so important too, is giving the bands a place to play, and like shows like this that people can get hyped up for.
Exactly.
Like, okay, yeah, this sounds awesome. There's lots of stuff going on here. I want to check this out.
One of those bands in particular for me was like West Main.
Oh yeah, West Main are great.
I'd never heard them before that show that you had sent me the flyer for and everything. So like them to be, they're a part of Kingston Loves You, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't seen the poster in a minute, and I was like, I should probably look at that. And I took like a quick glance before, and I was like, West Main. They're super talented, and the lyrics are just really deep, like connected on so many levels with me. And yeah, I think if there's, you know, obviously every band on the bill, but for me personally, if there's one band that I was like, specifically you should see, like West Main for sure is a great band. Yeah, they kill it live.
You have to go see 10 Years Out on Sunday. Show up early. They are the best band on Long Island right now.
This is their first show out of...
It's also their first show out of state, so come be a part of history, probably.
Excited for that, T. Just every band on the lineup is pretty insane.
Every band's great.
This is gonna be like a lineup where people look back and be like, this is crazy. How did they even like manage to do that? That's so rad.
All right, so what I want to maybe wrap up with is, you know, what have you learned from promoting shows, organizing stuff, and running a label and things like that? For the people out there who are maybe inspired by your story and what you do, who want to do it too, or, you know, what have you learned over the years that you would want to pass on to people interested?
Really? The two biggest things is, like, it never hurts to ask. Like, you know, let's say you're trying to, you know, in my case, book a show or do a vinyl pressing. You don't know what a band's gonna say if, like, you know, you hit them up. Like, the worst it could be is like, no, we don't want to run that or whatever. Like, you know. And the other thing is, it's like, I don't know what word or an adjective I'm looking for again, but kind of lay a solid groundwork for what you're doing, and like, you know, don't press like 500 copies of a record that's gonna only sell like 50 probably. Like, you know, make sure you're knowing what you're doing before you place the orders and whatnot.
Definitely plan it out methodically.
Yeah, like do the research, because, you know, it took me weeks before, you know, I even like hit up Wild Red to learn how to do a vinyl pressing.
All right, anything else you guys want to mention?
I'm pretty good. Make sure to come out Sunday to Kingston Loves You. We'll have prepaid tickets on punkstyria.com, and you can also get admission at the door. But yeah, listen to the Converse Kid, buy some records, and yeah, most importantly, support all the bands in your local scene.
All right, Punkstyria presents Kingston Loves You Fest at Doug's Boardroom on Sunday, April 27th with Stand Still, Pucker Up, Okay Buddy, 10 Years Out, Auto Ignition, West Main, Deadshot, Deep Disdain, and Catchin' Yetis. Doors open at 3 p.m. Tickets, which are $25 in advance, are on sale now on your website, punkstyria.com. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Of course, thanks for having us in the hospitality.
Yeah, this was fun. Please, if you guys, we talked about that dreaded social media algorithm. Only you guys can help us beat that. So if you want to break through all of the stuff that you don't want to see to get the good stuff that you do want to see, stuff like this, you gotta like, you gotta share, you gotta comment, you got to let people know. And make sure you go to punkstyria.com and purchase some of these fine things. If you're not going to come out, you should come out to the show.
on April 27th. But if you can't make it or anything like that, make sure that you go online to Punkstyria and pick up some of these fine vinyls and cassette tapes and all kinds of other things.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
All right, everybody. We will see you here next Wednesday for another NEPA Scene Podcast. So have a good night.